good morning, and welcome to Charmain Berry on the Telly live stream through Naya TV. And
So today we have with us Kristina Batty.
Today's date is Saturday, the 4th of July, and which is Independence Day, of course, in America. And it feels a little bit like that here as we're feeling our lockdown restrictions beginning to come up, which is really exciting. It's also a full moon. See how that turns out. And before I introduce the show today, I just want to say a big thank you to Abigail Eaton Masters for standing in last week, and her two guests, Melissa King and Premura. What a beautiful little show that was. Big thanks to you, Abigail. And yeah, this brings us to this week's show. We've got our usual regular features. We have Kristina Batty, who's going to be providing the Mayan Calendar update report. And Kristina is going to be a guest on our show as well in a few weeks, which should be great. We also have our cookery video today provided by Sue Healy and her lovely daughter Eleanor. And that's going to be great. I can't quite remember what they're going to make, but I'm sure it's going to be wonderful. And yeah, we've got two really, really inspiring men on the show today. I have with me Dr. Neil Hawkes and also a wonderful guy called James, who's over in Uganda, and he's the founder of a project called the Starlight Family. They're going to be joining us in about 45 minutes with James, and some of the children as well from the choir are going to sing for us later on in the show. It's going to be absolutely lovely. And just what a really lovely feel the show has today. I'm really excited about this because I have here with me Dr. Neil Hawkes. Hi, Neil. Good morning.
Good morning, Charmain. What a treat this is for me, being on the telly with you today. And hi to everybody who's listening today. A real honor and privilege to be speaking with you, Charmain.
And same here. I feel the same, Neil. Thank you. And I'm just going to read a little bit out about you, Neil, and your credentials. And yeah, Neil is just one of these people that is on the planet at the moment to deliver a really strong message and to bring about social reform, I would say.
A huge thank you to Abigail Eaton Masters with her guests, really formidable people.
This is a really powerful and influential worldwide movement within the field of education, but also for social change as well. Neil's really, really passionate about looking for ways that human beings can raise their level of consciousness. And we were just saying before, it feels like that's actually happening. There's certainly sort of a shift in the air around. And yeah, you have a background in
saying before, it feels like that's actually happening.
And you developed a
sort of shift in the air.
And yeah, you've written two fantastic books, From My Heart, Transforming Lives Through Values, and also The Inner Curriculum, which you co-wrote with your beautiful wife, Jane.
My Heart, Transforming Life.
And I really recommend The Inner Curriculum for anybody. And I just want to read out a little statement from Values-Based Education, which I just got off the website before because I think it just summarizes it beautifully. And I think this is your mission statement, but yeah, our world so desperately needs hope, and the IVET Foundation is bringing this hope by creating a movement through values-based education, which has the potential to transform education and society so that we can live in harmony with each other and ensure the sustainability of our planet. That's just lovely. Neil, welcome, welcome. Can you tell us a little bit more about
and ensure the sustainability
and something about your beginnings and how you landed to be so passionate about education?
Oh, thank you, Charmain. Thank you for an incredible introduction. I don't think I deserve that introduction. I always describe myself as a teacher. I'm passionate about teaching. I've had a career in teaching and in education generally. And now I do Zooming across the planet now, literally, rather than going in an aeroplane, which I've always regretted because of the carbon print. But it's been a great sort of privilege. I've always felt that I've had some sort of calling. Sometimes I wake up in the morning and say, why have I got to do this? You know, I've got a part of me that sort of said, oh, not again. But I realize that, you know, there's so much that needs to be done on our planet, particularly at this time. This time is really crucial. we're all being encouraged by politicians to sort of get back to normal. But I'm hoping that for a new sort of normal, not the normal that we've just come through. You know, just reading in the press some of the big issues that we're coping with. You know, they're now forecasting that the United Kingdom will be in 40 degrees of heat in a year or so's time. And those sort of big issues demands a new ways of thinking about how we survive on this planet. Viewers might be interested. The biggest problem we have actually is mental well-being. I think I'm beginning to go around the bend a bit, and you know, you may at home be feeling that too. Charmain, you mentioned new moons a little earlier, and that reminded me of a guy I worked with once. I was deputy head of a school, a primary school, and we had a fantastic head teacher. He was a really, really great guy. So my story isn't to denigrate or shame him in any way. He was really great. But Charmain, on full moon days, something peculiar happened, and he would stay in his office and we wouldn't see him, and the rest of the staff would say, "Is so-and-so all right, Neil?" And I said, "Yes, he's all right." And I began to realize that this happened on full moons. So when you said today was a full moon, I thought, oh my gosh, what's going to happen to me today? I hope I don't suddenly sort of go into a strange, even more strange place than I am. Because I think the elements do, you know, have an effect on us. You know, my personal experience over the last few weeks, because I've been in lockdown as everybody else has been, I've been developing my vegetable plot, which usually I haven't had a chance to do. But it's been the most awe-inspiring time for me in the vegetable plot, because I've been looking at these plants, and I had a hard job digging up this plot at the beginning, full of stones and things. But then I planted these seeds and little plants. And now I wish I could take you all out to look at the vegetable plot, because all these wonderful things have grown. And I've been standing back and thinking, isn't this a true miracle? Why are we not in connection? And before the show started, I showed your colleagues what my garden is looking like, with the lavender growing and the bees that are coming round. Our little pond that we have, we're very fortunate. We've got a little tiny pond I made, and we've got dragonflies, and we see the chrysalises, and this lockdown time has really made me sort of go back to principles. And in education, I've been sort of thinking again about what's important. I've been reading a book that was written a long time ago by someone from the Ukraine, of all places. His name was Vasily Sukhamensky, and he became a great educationist. And he influenced a lot of us when we were training to be teachers. His whole way of thinking about childhood was to make connections with children, really almost, I'd say, soul-to-soul connections. The best teachers I've ever seen working have been people that have been able to make that connection with children. And what Vasily did was he made his classroom the outside. He had an inside classroom, obviously, but he spent a lot of time taking the children into nature, especially very young children, so that they could connect with the outside world. I was listening to a politician talking this week on TV, and he was saying, oh, the children now after lockdown will have to catch up. And he's saying, I want all the desks to be facing forward, and the catch up is going to be in English and mathematics. My heart, Charmain, dropped, because I thought what the children need to catch up on is, number one, relationships. Mm-hmm. Telling their story about what's happened to them during the pandemic. They need to share those stories. Some of them will be quite traumatized by the stories. Not all parents have been enjoying homeschooling and things like that. Some families have been in difficult circumstances. And so what we need to people to realize what's really important when we talk about schooling. It isn't just, and the 3 R's are important, obviously, but there are basic things that children need, and relationships is number one. Number two is being given a very wide experience of the curriculum. For those who aren't in schools, curriculum means everything that you do in the school. Those things that you intend to do and those things that aren't intended. You know, how children walk about the school, the atmosphere of the school, all that sort of thing. So we need a renaissance. We need a new beginning in education. Sorry if I upset anybody now, but I think so many of us grown-ups are being conned into what is good education. Good education isn't about passing examinations. I speak to young teenagers now and I say, what are you studying? And they say, oh, I'm studying chemistry. I said, are you interested? Oh no, I'm just trying to get the grades so I can go on. It's all about grades. Schools are all about inspection, league tables, SAT results. It's not about how we live as human beings on this planet and actually attune to each other. Now, Charmain, I'm over talking and you haven't said a word, so interrupt me if I'm going off beam.
That's the point, Neil. It's to hear you speak, and I think it'd be really great for the audience to understand a bit about values-based education. The project that you founded many years ago. I'm not even sure when you did that, but sometime.
Yeah, I'll tell you a bit about the history, shall I, of that? I think viewers, I'm sure they'd be interested in this. As a young teacher, was very interested. I was promoted far too early. My first headship was when I was 27 years of age, and I had a lovely country school that I was put head of. And then I went on to an urban school as a head. And then I went on to do other jobs in education. I helped run local authorities and things like that. And then I had this awakening. And the awakening was I was visiting schools and I noticed that children didn't seem to have an understanding of words such as respect, honesty, trust, compassion, happiness, peace, love. These words that I call values. They are values. They're values that live in here, in our hearts, or should be living. I believe all human beings, when we come onto this planet, have a reservoir of these values here. Things happen to us which change things. I'll come to that in a moment. So I was watching these children, really lovely kids, nothing wrong with them, but they didn't seem to have an understanding. So I wanted to return to be a head teacher of a school and to see if I could do things differently. And I was accepted as a head teacher in north of Oxford, in Oxfordshire, at a place called Kidlington. And I found a most wonderful school. It was incredible. By a wonderful school, it was the community of people, the people that fed their children into the school. They were great. It was a very mixed area, lots of people, some very poor people, challenging times for them. So we had a mixed group of people. So it was a wonderful place to do a huge experiment. And the experiment was to see if we introduced a vocabulary, a set of words to children, would it make a difference? Would it improve their work at school? Would their academic results go up? Would their behavior change? What effect would it have on members of staff? Would their lives be easier? Would their teaching be more effective? So I worked with Oxford University to really see, to be really objective about the effects of this. So I started the work and the staff sort of probably looked at me as though I was a bit crazy at first, but they came on board in an incredible way. And we introduced the vocabulary. We, as a community, we decided what values were important. It wasn't me going along saying these values are important. It was what our community thought were important. And we came up with a vocabulary which was based on 22 words. And that became our ethical vocabulary. It was Aristotle, the famous Greek educator, philosopher, said that education is a moral pursuit, a moral pursuit. So we took that to heart. How can we help children to bring these values and make them their virtues, because when these virtues are inside you again, they once were, but they're inside you again, that will make a difference, and they become our virtues of life. I keep on saying they were in us. What I mean is when we arrive on this planet, when you at home, you've all been lovely babies. I can imagine you all in my mind now. And I bet your mums all said to you, hey, you're cracking today. And you got hopefully a lot of love coming your way. But you may have grown up in a family of 5 other kids. And, you know, soon you had to work out, how do I survive in this family? And so parts of you started sort of adapting a bit. And I could give my own example. My brother was, my older brother was he was a lovely character, but very dominating. And I always remember he used to get a spoon and put it in a hot thing of tea and then burn me under the table on my leg. So I would squeal and I'd get us from my mum and he would get away with it. So he was a terror. So I had to learn, how could I be getting on well in my family? So I became the nice boy. I thought, well, I'll be nice, you know. So I would be the one at home that would do the hoovering around the house. And, oh, Neil, you're a great chap. So I developed a side of my personality was at that. Later on, I had to develop another part, which is the organizer. That's a great part of me that can organize and run organizations. So the authentic me, when you have these bits, aspects of you, can be masked a bit. So what we found in values-based schools is if children, perhaps a child has had a lot of shame in their lives, they come and they feel, oh, they feel poor me, and they're a bit reactive. And but if you as a teacher, from your authentic, lovely nature, which is in all of us, if you can connect with the child in that way, the child then sees and feels that, and they become their authentic selves. And that is the magic of a values-based school. It enables people to be who they truly are. So many of us, you know, we've seen the Black Lives Matters campaign. I've worked a lot in the States with people who have been treated abominably. I have a nephew, or I should say niece, who's one of the trans people who now lives in the United States. And the incredible attacks that she now feels on her because she can't be her authentic self. And I'm a great believer that all of us, all you listening to me today, be the person that you want to be. That is so important, because when we're all authentic selves, then we start reacting and relating to people in that way. So going back to school, that was what we were doing. We also taught the children, and when we did it, and I'm talking about 2003, 2004, that sort of time, I was doing something then that other schools generally didn't do, and that was teaching the children to be reflective. Other people may use now mindfulness or meditation. I didn't use those terms. I didn't know, Charmain, the benefits of that. Now, of course, we have the neurobiologists that are telling me, Neil, what you did in those days was spot on for helping people to connect with themselves and as I was saying, be their authentic selves. So we taught the children to be reflective. If I were to give you a tip at home, spend time each day, each morning, just being still. Jane, my wife, and I, each morning spend half an hour being still. You're probably saying, I haven't got time for this half an hour. How does he do it? Well, we set our alarms half an hour early. So we still run long days. But the magic is that the gift we are given is greater energy. I run long days and I still feel great. And I put it down to reflective practice, that going internal, calming the system. Another tip I'll give you, when you're in that state, do a mental scan. Ask yourself, how's my internal family doing at the moment? All those parts of me, the part that might be anxious about coming on Telly today. And just saying, it's okay, we'll be there with you, just calm down a bit. So doing a body scan and talking to your internal world is really helpful, Charmain.
Absolutely, which is tying in with the internal family systems model, which I'm always talking about. And there's certainly sort of parallels and synergy with that as well.
Absolutely.
And the project, when you sort of discovered this and you rolled this out in the first school, it was obviously a huge success. Like, you saw brilliant outcomes with the children and the teachers.
I'm delighted to say yes. The research project, which, if you're interested, you can go onto the university line and you can read the thesis on it if you're interested, to get the detail. But it exceeded all our expectations, Charmain, in terms of the effects it had on children. What happened too, that people around the world were starting to be interested in what we were doing. Notably, someone called Professor Terence Lovett came from Australia. The Australians were looking to see if they could introduce values education into their population to help all the people who are coming from other countries and their own population to feel united. Was there a group of common values that the country could unite around? So Terry Lovett came to my school, and he decided that what we were doing, and I say we because it's not about Neil Hawkes, this was a community, and he wanted to see if this could be the gold standard for Australia. And the Australians at that time put $40 million into developing values education in Australia. But Charmain, I'm really sad now at the next part. It was doing really well. Then you had crazy politicians that came along and were wanting to model themselves on what was happening in the United States and in the United Kingdom. So they said, oh, we've got to go back to basics. And so we want more literacy, we want more mathematics, because politicians think of economic benefit, not on well-being. So it's GDP they're interested in. I think that's all going to change, which you might like to ask me about in a minute. But so the Australians went back to basics. The good news, though, is that they're now realizing they made a big mistake. And they're saying to me, oh, we're introducing well-being, and they're using the values thing in a different way. But they're realizing that if you just do back to basics, it doesn't actually work. Because I think of my little granddaughter, who actually isn't doing very well as a 7-year-old. And she goes every morning for catch up to do more literacy. The other day, she was talking to me on Skype and she was in tears. She just can't get it. But Charmain, she's one of the most creative children. If you ask her to do a painting, her intelligence comes out in artistic intelligence. And if only the school would realize they can teach her literacy by using the vehicle of art, craft, and all those creative things. And many of you who are listening to me may have children that struggle in the basic subjects. Just ask some questions at school. How is the curriculum delivered? Is it sterile? And which some children will take to, but the majority won't do as well as they could. This is what I call about conning the general public. I'm wanting, Charmain, the general public, mums and dads and others that are listening, I want them to really wake up and don't be conned into thinking good education is something that happened in the 19th century, when the problem in education, Charmain, is that we've all been to school, and therefore we think good schooling is what we experienced. That may not be the case.
Wow, fascinating, Neil. And yeah, we're going to cut away to a little break right now and just listen to Kristina Batty with the Mayan Calendar update. And yeah, and let's pick up when we get back, Neil. It's really fascinating. Thank you.
Thank you, Charmain.
Mayan report for this Saturday, the 4th of July. So today is Independence Day in the United States of America. It's also a red rhythmic Earth Day in the Galactic Mayan calendar. Plus, we have more celestial happenings this weekend with a full moon, which is also a lunar eclipse. So this full moon is known as the buck moon or the thunder moon, and we are going to have a lunar eclipse to just amplify the power of that full moon. So what is all of this going to mean? Well, within the galactic Mayan calendar, the red earth energy is very much that grounding. It's about being that celestial body. The words that are associated with the red earth are evolution, synchronicities, really dropping into the being a part of the earth. The earth isn't just our home, it's also a part of who we are. The elements that make up the earth also make up our bodies. So it's really dropping into that awareness of everything that she's carrying, not only as our home, but also as a galactic being flying through space. So there's a real depth with the red earth kin, and a real understanding of being connected to the earth. So real grounded, looking after the earth, being in nature. So that's today. Couple that with the rhythmic, which is all about harmony. So it's the masculine and the feminine, and really coming into balance, but with a flow through it. Rhythmic is the 6th day of the yellow human wave spell. And as we were discussing last week, yellow human is that being free will. It's around coming into being the human, the vessel, the chalice that we have to navigate through these lives that we are living. So we're going to be in the yellow human all of this week, and we'll actually next Saturday, when we're doing this report once again, will be the final day of the yellow human wave spell, yellow cosmic seed. And that was not only the final day of the yellow human wave spell, but it is also the final day of the white castle of the north, which is the Mayan month and 52-day cycle that's going to be coming to a completion next Saturday. And then we will shift from white into blue. And going into a completely new phase. So we shall see what this week has in store, with lots of celestial things really amplifying everything that we're already experiencing through these very interesting times. So sending you huge love. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I look forward to catching up with you next week. Take care. Bye.
And welcome back, everybody. And thank you so much to Kristina for this week's report. Always wonderful as ever. And if you're just joining us now, I'm Charmain Berry, and this is live stream through Naya TV. And I'm joined today, I'm with my guest right now. It's Dr. Neil Hawkes. He's the founder of Values-Based Education. And Neil's just been telling us about how that's been developing over the years. And Neil, can you tell us a bit about where VB is now, and the kind of, the impacts and the influence that it's having on our educational system in the UK, and perhaps something about what's happening further afield?
Yeah, sure. Whilst I was head teacher in Kidlington, we were visited by a wonderful lady called Frances Farrer. And Frances was a journalist, and she represented The Independent, The Guardian, and a number of newspapers. And she said to me, Neil, I'd like to write some articles about what's going on. And she wrote the articles. But she then said, could she write a book? And I was really honored. I thought, oh, wow. So she became a fly on the wall over several months. And she wrote a book called A Quiet Revolution. And I thought it was a great title. And Frances and I spend a lot of time together talking about the philosophy and how it actually worked, what effects it had on children and on their parents and the community. And it was a great book. Random Press published it in 2001, 2002, I think. And we were really, really pleased with that. But that quiet revolution has sort of taken off. During the time of Tony Blair, my dear friend Bridget Knight, who's head teacher of Erdesley School in Herefordshire, she and I, we were both working together. She and I went to 10 Downing Street to see what the Blair government thought of values-based education. And we got their advisor, the equivalent to Dominic Cummings of those days. And he was okay. And he said, well, we love what you're doing, but, you know, this government's on its fag end, so it's probably not wise. But I came out of 10 Downing Street and I decided that, wow, this is be a big mistake to let any politician get hold of this. Because if you get into bed, as it were, with one side of the politics in this country, you're immediately rubbished by the other side. And values-based education is for all people. It's not political. It's not religious. It's a movement for transformation that everybody can buy into. So I decided then that this should be a groundswell movement. And I've been criticized for that. People have said, oh, Neil, why don't you become more strategic? That's the word they use. But I started to go, and I was invited to visit schools, and any school that may be listening to me now, I'd be delighted to be invited, or one of my colleagues, to you. And we started doing whole school trainings in values-based education. Why, you might ask, whole school? Because it's not a program. What you're talking about is culture, and how you actually affect changes in culture. Culture means how we do things round here. So how do you line children up in the playground, or do you line them up? You know, what's your dinner time like? How do staff speak to each other? Are they friendly? It's all that. And so we said, well, if everybody comes to a training, dinner staff, cleaning staff, everybody, because one of the things I say is that there should never be a hierarchy of relationships in a school, only a hierarchy of roles. So if I'm the head teacher, I know my role, but I'm no better in relational terms to anybody else. We're all equal. And that's when you take the lid off potential and release the creative dynamic of everybody in the school. It's a marvelous thing. So going and working with a whole community, actually, that's where the magic happened. And before we knew where we were, we had schools all up and down the country saying, we want to be values-based schools. So it wasn't something that government was saying, and the government has done its own thing. It's had its national curriculum. It's introduced more and more Ofsted testing. We've had data. Poor schools, I don't know how they cope, but still they said, yeah, we want your stuff, Neil, because that's the important side of education. So I've been, Charmain, absolutely thrilled, because we've now got in this country, I won't exaggerate, but I know there are hundreds, if not thousands, of schools that have picked up my work in some way. Some of them I'm delighted about, because they don't even know me anymore, because people that I've trained in the past have gone on to new schools and they've developed it. So, and I see lots of websites where I see stuff that I've done. But so no reason why anyone has to know me. It's not the Neil Hawkes show. I'm not interested. What I'm interested in is helping society really focus on what matters. And then this quiet revolution has gone on. Yesterday, Charmain, I was talking to senior colleagues in Grenada in the Caribbean. We had a day, I'd pre-recorded a training for them, and a colleague of mine, Sue Jones, also, she's a great teacher, head teacher. She also did a recording, and we were training the Grenadians because they want to introduce values-based education to every school in Grenada. Now, why do they want to do this? It's the same problems that we're seeing everywhere. Growing lack of respect, alcohol abuse, drug abuse, teenage pregnancies, all the societal things that in some way or other is cropping up in so many countries of the world. Too much what I call libertarianism. You could call me a liberal, I don't mind that. I'm not using that in a political party sense, but I'm a middle of the road sort of person, I suppose. But what so many countries, when I go to the United States, what alarms me there is a shift from liberalism to libertarianism. Libertarianism means I don't care what you want, I'll do what I like. And once you get to that, it's like the face mask business in the United States. People saying, I don't care, I'm not going to be told to wear a face mask. And it's a misunderstanding of what freedom means. And so you put your colleagues at risk in that way. Yeah, I'm very concerned about the Leicester situation. I've got lots of friends in Leicester, but I'm beginning to hear on the grapevine how it could be because certain people who run factories insisted that their workers continued during the lockdown, and therefore the disease was, no, I must be careful what I'm saying because, you know, I don't know all the facts and I don't want to spread rumors. But one of my fundamental beliefs is that we've got to stop this world just basing its economy on making a few people rich. When you look at who owns the wealth of the world, it's a very few people. And they say, oh, we've got to have this wealth because there's something called trickle down when everyone else will be made wealthy if we're wealthy. Don't believe it. We need a different system. The prime ministers of New Zealand, Iceland, and Scotland are working together at the moment to see if we can base a world's economy on a well-being quotient. Every single citizen in this country, no matter what religion, what color, what race, what anything you are, deserves an equal share of the world's resources. There shouldn't be a them and us. So underneath the values-based education is something really serious. Really, that's why it's a movement for transformation in the world. And that's why not everybody will like Neil Hawkes, I can assure you, because that I will become a threat to the status quo when we think of wealth. And I'm a challenge to the educational establishment because I say, you're just carrying on things as normal. You do not understand how children best learn. All that has been done away with. Teachers who are trained in the last 10 years are taught to be deliverers of curriculum. You're assessed on how well you teach certain lessons, particularly in literacy and numeracy. You're not taught about how children learn, how little children learn through experience, how play is so important. Please, viewers, never denigrate play. As adults, we need to play. It's the best way to learn is to play when it's guided play. So we need a renaissance of education. We need a renaissance in how we think about power and politics. And why do I say this? I think we are at 1 minute to midnight on this planet. The human race has been here for only a very short time, if you think of the length of time this planet has existed. We sort of arrived at 5 minutes to midnight. I believe we're at 1 minute to midnight. I'm not preaching gloom because I'm full of hope. I believe you viewers that are listening hold the power in your hands. You can ask questions. You can ask that things are different. You can say, we want well-being. We want to be looked after. Don't be taken in by narcissistic politicians who are really interested in their own welfare and their own power. Power should be with the people, not with politicians.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm going on too much.
I think you've really shown, that's what really struck me about VBE was that you just got on with it and you just implemented it. And I remember asking you that question and you were kind of like, well, they can't stop you. You know, if the head teachers want it and the teachers want it, then who's there to stop it? And I just thought it was absolutely amazing. And I think, you know, sometimes we just need reminding of that. We can end up putting a lot of effort in kind of fighting the system, and actually, you know, you just gone in through the back door and just started ushering this new way in, which has, you know, been massively transformational. And who's going to stop us?
The more listeners realize the benefits of this. I was listening to a guy yesterday. I was running a webinar with a colleague, and he was someone who runs Forest School. I don't know if viewers are familiar with Forest School. Forest School is when you take children into a woodland or create a space in your school grounds where the children can learn to be natural, they learn the responsibility, they learn to take risks, they learn how to relate to nature. A really wonderful guy. And he said that it was when the parents came and experienced with the children, that suddenly they got it. They said, yeah, we want a slice of this ourselves. We didn't have this at school. So it's when parents actually see what's the alternative to what my children are giving. Now, can I say something immediately? There are thousands of schools in this country that are doing an absolutely fantastic job. I think all teachers that I come into contact with are doing an incredible job, but the job has never been more difficult. It is really a very challenging job to do, and they do need our support. So anything I'm saying today is not getting at my colleagues in school, because I know they're doing fantastic. But the system needs changing, and it's systems not only in education, but in politics, in welfare. My daughter, who is in social services, you know, she cries to me that there's not enough money to really help people, that they go to assess people, but then there's no resources to help. Now, what is a system? Why, I ask politicians, we are one of the richest countries in the world. Why do we have food banks?
Yeah, absolutely.
Why? You know, what is it about our systems that creates people in Manchester living rough? You know, it's not their fault. I chat to them. So that's why values-based education, when you start thinking of what values really matter, if you really think respect it matters, then you turn that into policy. You respect everybody. You treat everybody equally, because it's not talking about values that's important. It's living the values.
Absolutely. Yeah, so important. Thank you, Neil. And how can people find out more? There may be teachers that are watching this, or head teachers, and even parents, and, you know, just again, just emphasizing that this is possible. You know, if the school is open to this, like what would the next steps be, Neil? How could they get?
Well, you're very welcome to email me. My email address is small case dr.neilhawkes, NEILHAWKES @gmail.com. You can also look at the website www.valuesbasededucation.com. Values-based education is all one word. My own personal website is neilhawkes.org. So you're welcome to look at that, and do please comment. I'd be really interested for your comments today. You know, I don't mind if you're critical, because we all learn through criticism. I'm a great believer that we learn from each other through criticism. But remember, we all see the world through a different lens. I look at the world through the lens of my upbringing, the way I've been educated in schools, etc. We all have different ways. My family, my grandmother, who was an incredible influence on my early years. You might think I talk a lot. Well, put that down to Granny, because as a 3 or 4-year-old, I used to sit with her and she used to chat away with me, and she'd say, come on, Neil, chat. So you might be interested. I didn't do so well in sort of formal education early on, but I was always good at oracy. And parents who are listening to me, please, please speak with your children and let them talk. Be a really deep listener of what your children are saying. You might be interested in this book. Charmain mentioned it, The Inner Curriculum. This is doing really well. Colleagues in the Grenada, you know, have all got copies of that for some reason, and they're using it. See, the formal curriculum of school is important, but I think the inner curriculum, which is all to do with how you are as a human being internally, so that your well-being, your resilience is kept high. That's important, and that's what this little book talks a lot about, and it sets it in the context of values-based education. So I look forward to hearing from you, viewers.
Yeah, that'd be really great. Thank you, Neil. We're going to cut away in a minute to our cookery slot. I'm going to keep you with us just for a while longer, if that's okay, because I would love to introduce you to Jen. I know you've had little messages this week, which has been really, really lovely. But yeah, it'd be great just to introduce you guys on the show as well. And Yeah, and I just want to say it's been wonderful to have you here. You're one of my favourite people, Neil, I must say.
You're one of mine, Charmain,
Yeah,
too.
I admire the work that you do.
Mutual Admiration Society.
It has been like the silent secret revolution that's been going on in the background in the educational system. You know, all is not lost. Change is on its way, and you know, get involved. Anybody who wants to get involved, and it's not just about education, like you say. It's the wider community, and really tapping into these innate qualities that we have. That, you know, when we sort of let the ego and the obstacles sort of die down, that we can all access that and connect in a much fuller way. I just want to mention there's a couple of comments here. One from Neil. Yeah, he wanted to know more about the school. What was the name of the school? He wanted to read more about that, the original school, and a bit more about your work. Well, I think you can find all that, Neil, on Neil's website. Yes. And well, thank you, Georgina, and thank you to John Cooney for messaging as well. And yeah, if you do have any questions or any comments about anything that Neil said today, we would really, really, really welcome that as well. And as Neil said, you know, really happy for you to get in touch with him via email. Okay, so we're going to cut away now to our cookery slot. I just want to mention Sue Healy, and who's demonstrating in this video, and behind the camera is her lovely daughter Eleanor. And thank you both so much for doing this. Sue actually used to be the owner of the Coven vegetarian restaurant in Wigan, which is sadly closed down now, but she's still involved in health and well-being, and has agreed to do this for us today. So I'm really, really, really grateful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, hello. Welcome to Naya TV and Charmain Berry breakfast show. We're on the telly with Charmain Berry. Very exciting. We're vegans. This is my daughter Eleanor is behind the camera there. I'm Sue. We had the Coven in Wigan until the end of last year, vegan restaurant. Other things happening now. Tomorrow, Eleanor launches her new hair product. So this is a busy evening. So what we were going to make didn't quite pan out. So let that be a lesson to you. Anybody who cooks for a living still has disasters, and it doesn't matter, you just do something else. We're going to make two things. We're going to make a lockdown latte, even though we're not in lockdown anymore. And we're going to make garlic mushrooms that you can have with pasta or on bruschetta. We would have shown you vegan garlic mayo using aquafaba, which is really chickpea water, but it wasn't working. It works or it doesn't work. Usually it works. Today, not so much. So on my stove here, I've got oat milk heating up for the latte. And what you do is you make a shot of coffee, however you want to make it. You can make it with instant, that's what we're doing. Measure your milk in a smaller mug than the one you're going to use, because we're going to froth it using a cafetiere. Now you need one that has got plenty of room in it, otherwise it's going to go everywhere. So you need a decent size, smaller cup, get that measured. Meanwhile, here's the pan. These are chestnut mushrooms. You can use any, you can use fancy ones that cost you a fortune. You can use plain old button mushrooms. These are chestnut ones that retain the shape and the texture a bit more. We're going to fry those off while our milk's heating up. When they're as brown as I want them to be, and you'll see what that means, I'm going to add garlic. It's going to cook quite quickly. We don't want to burn the garlic.
How much garlic?
That's 2 fat cloves of garlic, because we like garlic. You can put it through a garlic crusher, that's fine. I've chopped that, it's fairly fine. You don't want great big lumps, but it's okay to see it. We're going to add black pepper when I find it, and this is tamari, and tamari is just gluten-free soy sauce. It actually tastes a little bit milder, and some soy sauce can be a bit harsh. This isn't. It's quite a gentle flavour, and it's better than just putting salt in there because it's more complicated tasting. But also, it's going to give a good colour. And then we're going to use a vegan single cream. There are others on the market besides Oatly. I know it's called. This is the best one for cooking. So we're going to use a dash of that, and then fresh parsley. Big tip, if you put fresh herbs on anything that you've made, it's going to look so much better straight away, and it's going to taste better. It's going to be better. This is thyme. It's probably here for decoration, but I might put a sprig or two on the end. So, excuse me while I get a spatula. And some peppers. Turn them around gently. This evening we've been assembling boxes. We've been, well, Eleanor's been making the hair mask that she's producing. That's fair trade, organic, vegan, totally ethically produced. She's having a tree planted for every sale. She's donating 10% of the profits to an anti-poaching charity. What's it called?
The International Anti-Poaching Foundation.
And it smells gorgeous. 11 kind of aromatherapy type oils in there. You talk about that while I do this.
And so it's 4 of the oils that are aromatherapeutic. It's 11 oils, elixir, and yeah, each of the oils is kind of selected for its hair nourishing and smoothing and hydrating properties. And then there's an aromatherapy scent in there that's kind of de-stress, anti-anxiety, so that for the 15 minutes it's on your hair, you can just kind of chill out, breathe deeply, and just feel a bit better.
And have lovely, gorgeous, soft, shiny, happy hair. Really nice. Loads of people test it. Anyway, that's tomorrow. Website goes live. Solasta Organics. Solasta is Celtic word for lustrous.
Shiny, sparkly.
Lustrous. It's nice, isn't it? So our mushrooms are nearly there. Chestnut mushrooms don't really break down too much. The milk is steaming, just about boiling. It boils over just like cow's milk does. You've got to watch it. And then this. Ooh. It's going to go into here. So, see where it's at now. Just above there. So it's pretty hot. We're going to make our shot. So you could do that however you wanted. You've got a coffee maker or espresso maker. And look, I'm not plunging like mad, and already you can see that it's adding some volume, and it actually makes a really nice creamy foam. If you're going to use plant milk for this, you've got steer clear of almonds and coconut, those thinner ones. Soy does it okay. Oat is the best and tastes the nicest in coffee, and the barista ones are the best of all. So look, that's made itself loads more volume. Enough, I think?
Yeah. Just give it a bang and a swirl.
Yeah. So you're going to do that thing that you see baristas do, and what that's to do is knock out the big bubbles. There's our shot, and you're just going to pour it in so you can see how creamy that looks. I can't make a beautiful tree or an apple or whatever. Just do it in a circle slowly. Eleanor is the queen of the baristas, and she's turning her nose up at my big bubbles right now.
Oh, it doesn't look bad at all.
There's an element of cappuccino there. But
Hybrid.
in very few seconds at home, marvellous. Right, over here. Garlic in with your mushrooms. Just just turn it over really. In there. I've got a couple of slices of baguette ready there. As I say, you could do this with pasta. Just have your spaghetti or linguine or whatever it is already cooked, ready to go in the pan. So that's fine. Here, I'll put my pepper in now. So a few grains of black pepper. I like pepper. And measurement is hard. This many shakes of tamari. You can see what that does? Now that is going to catch. It's going to caramelise and catch if we're not careful. So I'm going to put my cream in pretty quickly. And you can see how the soy there, the tamari, does a nice thing to the colour. I just want that to heat up.
Smells so good.
Smells good. So it already smelled great in here because of all those essential oils. And now it smells of garlic as well. So I'm going to chop up some fresh parsley. And you're going to see what that does. I'm going to put some in there. And then I'm going to sprinkle some more when it's on the plate. Turn that in. You don't want to cook it. You just want to have it as part of your dish. So instantly that looks fresher, more alive. It's hot, you can see that. I'm going to put this on the toast. If you were using pasta, you'd perhaps make a little bit more sauce because you're going to put your drained cooked pasta in there and toss it in the sauce. So there we are. That looks pretty nice. And now it looks even nicer. So garlic mushrooms on toasted sourdough, or vegan with a lockdown latte. Namaste.
Hi everybody, I'm here finally.
Hi, James.
Are you hearing me? Are you hearing me?
We have James joined us on Zoom live.
All right.
Uganda.
All right, all right, all right. Here we go. Everyone is here waiting for you.
Oh, that's amazing. So looking forward to it, James. So I'm not sure if you're on our screen right now. Hopefully you are. Hey, we're all live.
Oh God, yeah, I'm alive.
So happy to see you here, James, and the children. Absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, thank you so much, even. I'm so happy. Bagara Basi will call everyone, the children.
Hello, everyone. And the children are going to sing for us in a while. I'm just going to chat to James and find out more about this incredible project there. James, I just wanted to you online here to Neil Hawks, just so you guys
what?
Just
okay.
wanted to introduce you on here to Neil Hawks.
Yeah.
Can you see him on the screen?
Yeah, I can see you on the screen.
Great.
You look beautiful. Yeah.
Thank you, James. Can you see Neil?
Who?
Neil.
Neil? Neil. No, I'm just seeing you right now. Seeing you alone.
That's great.
Yeah.
Oh, my darling. So wonderful to have you here, James. I'm just going to say another thank you and goodbye to Neil, who's been our first guest. And we're landing here in Uganda with James and all his wonderful children. And you are the founder of the Starlight Family Project.
Of course.
Uganda.
Yeah, I'm the founder. I am.
And this offers support and resources to your local and wider community.
Genda jeko kalya ka radio. Omanyi oba kalyako. Yeah. Okay. You know, being with the kids always is funny. So since I'm there, orphanage father, they ask me this one.
Oh,
so
tell me about family.
Hello. Okay, kwako. Yeah, I'm now available.
Hey, so I'll just say that I found you guys on Facebook, and you and the children had shared this absolutely beautiful song, and you were just sending, and yeah, I really felt it, like unconditional love from where you are, and it was just so beautiful, and I had to get in touch with you and just say thank you, and this is where we've sort of struck up a connection, and I'm just absolutely in awe of the Starlight family. Can you tell us a bit more about it?
Yeah, I can tell you about it a little bit. Would you like to start to tell you about the Starlight family or about me, I myself?
Well, I'd like to
Hello?
hear both. Yeah, I'd like to hear both, and a little bit about your background and your.
Okay, it's simply like a small story. I can compile it together to make it short. Probably once I was an orphan boy. Then I found myself with no parents, and I was taken all grown up in one of the orphanage in Chiboga, which is now not there because that orphanage was started shortly by missionaries of Africa. They were from Africa. Missionaries of Africa from Europe. They came here in Uganda to bring the religion because I was a Catholic at that time. Then I grown up from there. After there, the war was ended. Then the white fathers or Europeans went back home. Then my life was again. I went back to street. Then from street, I grown up seeing many children loitering around. They don't have parents because others they were orphans, others they were affected victims of HIV, others they were malaria with no stay, and I among the boys. Right now, God helped me. I got some of the back in the school, adopted me on the street and put me back to school. From there, I get a friend who was called David Peter Amrain, who decided to pay my tuition when I was at high school, starting high school. Then he asked me whether I would be able to help others as he found me. He founded me on the street and they take me back to school. Then I say yes, I would be probably help other children who used to suffer the same way if I were blessed to get enough opportunity to do so. So I don't know. Oh my God, how it came. Um, God helped me, and again, you know, the sponsor who used to sponsor my education asked me that, James, could you probably like to go until further studies in the universities? Then it was a tricky question because here in Africa, most of people who are educated, they are not having jobs. They don't have jobs. So then I decided that what if my education mentor you sponsor me to start what I would like to create for the community, of which that was my dream, to start a home and a school, because it's just a big chance to give someone an opportunity in Africa on how to speak a little English, or to know how to calculate some little money, just to know how to read and write, and also to speak a little English, because most of Africans, they don't have that big chance of just learning how to read and write. So that's why I speak out that education is the key to everything. If somebody can get a little bit of education, because I myself, James, I'm not a well-educated person, and here I have a school and a home, but that school, I'm not a professional teacher. I have my friend. Anytime I'm going to introduce to you, not right now, my education mentor called Mr. Matov. For him, is a professional teacher with a degree in education, but he always comes to the orphanage and advise me on how to do it. Thank you. And advise me on how to do it. And of course, I'm proud to see that I have been running the school because of that particular mentor. And the other supporters who have been trying to support me because my school, I'm providing free education because I was once a victim and still an orphanage before when I was a little boy. Then what I'm delivering, that is what I promised to do from one of the helpers. So that's how I became to start all that life. And I personally, I found that it's not easy to pay the people who are helping me to teach because the education, you need to have teachers, you have to meet meals. Then God have blessed me with the talent of singing. So it come to me that I have to go on the street and basking by my music. Sincerely speaking, I was inspired by Michael Jackson. I started by miming the songs of Michael Jackson, like Heal the World, other things. Then people, they liked me. I started to know how to dance, small little break dance. Then people liked it in Africa. That's how I started to get some little money to pay the teachers and to meet food. Then I started to share a little bit of story, knowing about the technology. Oh my God, that there is social media. Then I started with Facebook a little bit, WhatsApp. Then I managed to put all what I'm doing online. And the same way I have got you, people, they can look at what you are doing and they get inspired. Then from David, I got another friend called Nivi Kalpin, who personally came from UK and volunteer at my orphanage and school previously. And before the coming of lockdown, then right now they start up the school due to COVID-19. And of course, God has blessed me and I get a wife who can understand me. If I to get a husband who doesn't have a parents, who doesn't have a good background, with no money, poor, you nothing, then God have brought a wife who is now helping me. Together we are doing this work. We are not being paid, but of course we are having big challenges, the resources to education moving on. There is some government procedures, how to run the orphanage, how to run the school. I'm slowly looking into that, which actually needs a lot of resources to make it happen. So when I'm now doing this, I'm trying to waiver opportunity which is coming in to somebody to support us to keep. And I regard that they're just my family because I'm happy to have a family from nowhere. That is a little bit about me. Yeah.
Wonderful, thank you. And I'd love to talk more about the project, but first of all, I want to share a video of you singing as Slender Man.
Yeah.
Just as a musician and a talented artist in your own right. So we've got a little clip of the video just to show everybody of you. This is Slender Man, and this is African Boy.
Actually, before we go into that, I have just a few days ago, I clicked or Googled on the internet to know about and the guy called Slenderman used it to
frozen there.
Maybe your children scaling name the Scully movie. But it makes Starlight. So I'm just trying to make jokes, music to inspire others with my music to go on. So I'm not a little bit of that Slender Man. Thank you.
It's wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah.
We'll play it now.
Mm-hmm. ekifaananyi ekirala.
Thank you. Great, thank you. Yeah, that's that's brilliant. Thank you. What a brilliant song. Thanks, James. You know, I've just been told by the producers that we've now uploaded a donation button onto the Naya Moss website. I think it's on Facebook. If anybody would like to make a donation, that Naya TV will match any donations that are sent to the questions. So if you just email us and let us know that you've made a donation, and then we will match that amount. So please do. I mean, please do look at starlightfamily.org, I think it is, on the internet. There's a donation button on there, and we've now got one on our
Yes, of course, on there it's there.
Yeah. Okay.
And I really thank that one who have decided to donate to my orphanage school. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Let's hear these beautiful children sing, and then we'll talk some more about the projects. And
all right, abana bagala muyimbe mulirudawa. Okay, they are coming.
So patient this morning.
Okay, they are preparing themselves to give you a song. Singo muyadusedde kunona abalala. Okay, anyways, they preparing themselves to come and sing for you. I'm really so inspired by your audience there who are trying to look that they can decide to support us. Oh my God, it's unbelievable.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, as they are coming, I think we can talk another 1 point. Playing, you know, they are playing for it. Yeah.
Well, I'll just give a little outline about, you know, what's at the project as well, because it's not just an orphanage and education. There's also an organic farm and farming resources, agricultural lessons there for people, so that people in the community can learn how to grow crops. And there's also, which I found really, really touching, is the project for the teen girls. Around sex education and providing just information around health as well for teenage girls there also, and the support that you give in terms of health as well, and especially through
yes.
Oh.
So yeah, I have found big points here you are actually trying to put across, and probably I would like to ask me one by one, because I listen there are many. So it's be better to ask me clauses of what you would like to discuss. Yeah. Point to point. So thank you. Which point can I start with?
Do the children want to sing first, James, or shall we talk first?
Actually, no, the children are they can be ready to sing, but they want to sing together. That's their way. We can start to talk one by one.
Okay, that's wonderful. Okay.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little more about?
Talk to speak about the points. Yeah.
Can you tell us about the farming?
I think we have like okay now a big. I found it is like a challenge to the whole world, because according to what we are seeing right now in the lockdown, it's like a very, very big example that what if all the jobs are off? What if whatever is off? Can we stop eating? The answer is no. We'll get any more ways on how we can feed our mouth. So I found that this is one of the big projects. That's why Starlight Family Children Organization, we decided to come out and start to do what we call, we first started by sensitization of people, because yeah, in Africa, you may find that, yes, poverty is a part of our life, but when it comes to what we have, like naturally God-given resources, everybody here in Africa might be having a smaller piece of land. Actually, it can be whether given to him or her by the parents before they deceased, or you can buy it. So we come in to start to sensitize people for not selling land, cultivate the land to plant their own food. Because, now in Africa, the challenge is many people, they are just trying to sell land. Then from selling land, they end up going to streets to be beggars. So now Starlight came in, starting in Chiboga district. We have started to sensitize in the community where we are, in Chiboga district. We have been started actually to sensitize the people. Like right now, the progress of number, we have like a group of women and local farmers group who are now benefiting in this project. Right now, if they don't know how to do that, I myself, I can take them to what I'm doing because I grow crops. I know how to grow them, how to rear them, because when I was at school, I used to learn about what we call agriculture, mainly organic farming. That's what can I say. And good enough, since internet opportunity is good, I managed to get a friend also from UK who was inspired by my work. The guy called Raphael Gordon is one of our supporter. He tried to give me the practice books, posted them through my email, my postal, shipping them to Uganda, and I take my time learning them. So whatever I learned there, I tried to call the community and I teach them. We are happy that my community where I live, most of them, they know now how to do a small garden to their home, which can help them to, to cope with this very situation we are passing through. Even though it's enough for them, it's not enough for them, but they are coping it with slowly. Yeah, that's about it.
Wow, that's
And
amazing.
we in our future plan, if Starlight family can be having like a financial blessings, we have a program where we are going to get another land, because what we have is a smaller land. But if we get resources, we hope to buy like a land of 20 acres to make a modern farm so that everybody can come and learn for free, so that they can go back and start with their small land, as I told you, because everyone here must be having a small land, starting his or her own small farm or garden. That's my dream. Yeah.
That would be incredible. Let's call that in for for that dream to happen. And that's
Yeah.
amazing. What a big inspiration that has had, and a big impact, helping everybody to learn how to grow is amazing. And also,
Yeah.
with the work with the children, you also have a focus on health and well-being and health education, and you
Of
help
course.
teenage girls as well. You have a project around that,
A project what?
the teenage girls.
Yeah. Because actually, this one knocks the two sides. Because since in Africa, when a girl can grow up and reach the stage like of 16 to 17, she likely to get unwanted pregnant. Why? Because she is not protected. When I say she is not protected, what I mean is there is what we call education. Through education, our African girl are securely protected, being that they are inside the school. They can be either getting like a senior woman teachers to keep them at the school. By then, these girls, they might be having the special needs. Like when I'm talking to the teen girls, when they reach what they call PM period or menstruation period, you may find that they need to meet what they need to keep themselves healthy, like sanitary towels. And if you need to get a sanitary towel or sanitary pad, today in Uganda, it's buying around 2.1 pounds, one sanitary pad, a smaller packet, 2 point something. So it's not easy in Africa, the girls to afford that. So what they do, they use tree leaves, newspaper, and sometimes they feel themselves sigma when they're at school. So we have started this project mainly to see how we can help these girls on how to stay at school and when they are healthy and happy without that stigma. Here, Starlight Family comes in offering a little when you can ask friends to donate some little money. We help these girls to get sanitary towels, not to use toilet paper or those glasses. They are not safe to them. Then I, with my wife, we decided to see how we can do that. I continue to offer. I'm not a famous musician, but you may find that somebody who are donating money can donate like a 100 pound, which is not enough to cover the 200 girls in this project. So you may find that I need to go basking music, or I need to grow side some food. And of course, I encourage some women groups to make crafts and they sell those things to help the younger girls, because there is no constant donor, there is no available resources to keep all that going on. So we give them sanitary towels to keep them there, because we have make a calculation of teen girls who are having unwanted pregnant because they have stigma. They are so feel fear at the school when they're in the MP, and then they have grass there. They use grass on newspaper. So even sitting in the chair and they see blood, it scares them. So we decided, I and my wife, and also asking people for donations who can chip in, and we start to do that. Plus sex education, because the men here we have like um they start going into this MP when they are in primary six, or like in primary level. So it can make them to be not good mother. A girl can get a pregnant when she's not ready to take the responsibility. And how they get that pregnant, they can meet some men who just like to, to enjoy their own things, their hidden agenda. Because she asking, can I get a pad from you? They say, yes, I can give you a pad. Only if you can do this. Something for love, it breaks my heart. Because even I don't know how I came on this planet. Maybe I was also part like that. So that's how we help the teen girls, and leaving them to miss the school because of that. So we are trying to make sure that this can be our some of spearheaded program to keep going on, and also to help others even in Uganda at large. That's how you may find that when you go research, many girls they are out of education because of that. Yeah, that's what I can say about that project.
And that seems incredible to think about from here. And to anybody who's watching this, I can't think of any worthier cause. If you can donate, this is going to such an incredible cause. That is amazing, and amazing. And being able to talk about that the girls get help.
Thank you.
Incredible. Thank you so much. And
Yeah.
What else is in the dream, James? What else would you like? How would you like to see this project unfold? What direction and what else can happen here?
In my dreams, I think that since a leader can be exemplary, I hope that I can train this young generation on how to become growing up in nature, loving it, be responsible. But the only way I can do that, I greatly believe, by education, because we are not just teaching them on how to read and write. We teach them on how they can be friendly with the environment, friendly on how as they grow food, they can grow trees, because nature can start to look after ourselves. As nature, I personally am I'm a man who like to work with nature. And of course, nature have been supporting me personally before I meet this family I have now, which is Starlight Family. I'm trying to help other community. It started with nature. First of all, we need to make sure that education is the key to them. And there, within education, we are not sticking on only theory. We can do what we call practicals. Practicals in loving nature, it means that you go and plant tree. You go and learn how to grow crops and look after themselves, not depending on food store. Africa, we are not on that level of going and spend money in food store. When you have land, you need to know how to activate the land. I want to teach younger generation more self-reliant. After getting skills, they can use those skills to empower others, using love and of course nature and the planet to become a responsible citizen of the world, not only Africa but wherever they plan to go. Yeah. That's the dream I would like to see, and that's how I see the project in more 10 years from now, to be that in Uganda we can be something like an example that we don't need much things in life to start what we need to do. Just we embrace love, we embrace nature, using education as the key to open everything. Yeah, that's my dream.
That's gorgeous. And it so resonates with Neil Hawkes, who was on earlier. He's on a similar mission. You guys are on a similar mission with that. That's really beautiful. Thank you so much. Again, I'm just going to remind the audience that we've got a donation button up, or you can look on starlightfamily.org website. You're also on Twitter and Instagram and on all the socials. And James, it's been really, really wonderful speaking to you. I think it'd be great to have you back on the show at some point, and we can explore more and maybe have a look around the project as well and spend a little bit more time, because it's just truly, truly wonderful work. It really is. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
Thank you.
I think children, they are ready to sing for you. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. And we'll say our goodbyes now.
What?
We will say our goodbyes now. The children can sing towards the end of the show.
Okay. Most of them, they just actually, they would like just to sing a little bit about their song, because they prepared that song to you guys, by the way, to you, the audience. So I wouldn't like to break their hearts that they can sing you a few.
Please, yeah.
Yeah.
Please. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'd love that.
Okay, they are here. They are ready.
Hello.
I am so happy.
I am so
happy today. I am so happy today for the donations. I am so happy. I am so happy. I am so happy. I am so happy today. I am so happy today for the donations. I don't know what to say today. I don't know what to say to you. I don't know what to say today. I am so happy. I don't know what to say today. I don't know what to say to you. I don't know what to say today. I am so happy. I am so happy. I am so happy. I am so happy. I am so happy today. I am so happy today for the donation.
We love you. Bye-bye.
So bye-bye.
So that's their song. Yeah. The little ones, they are playing there. They also send their love. Yeah. If you can look further, bye-bye.
Oh,
so,
James, is there like a local song they could share with us? I think he's gone. Let's see if he comes back.
A local song. Okay. Uganda. Akaimba kamoti bakaitani. Apasha. Okay, they are ready to go with that song.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Kale muyiweko.
Pasa, alumba, apashigenda.
Aha. Abaya sejiri koko.
Nawe sara chikende tulamule.
Fire. Sijagenda. Abakulu be banambuza ganyine bakola. I don't know answer. Wafumbirwa.
Kalenska to Ella. Kalina motoka era motoka children's. Ebu meja. Muchibira.
Sisi.
Okunoga yebibala.
Sisi.
Wali tuchabinoga. Sisi.
Netulengere sajja mudenyo.
Yali tenenyo. Sisi.
Ngatenga gwavu. Sisi.
Netugole misinde. Sisi. Netukabana maziga.
Mubatibule. So that is it.
That is super.
Yeah.
Thank you. Oh, we've got a message here from Paul just saying, God bless you and the children and all your community and your group. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we thank you so much.
All right, my Janet, and we're going to stay in touch.
Yeah.
All right, Danny.
Bye bye. We love you. Are you ready to go? Mubatibule, see you. From the bottom of our heart.
Thank you. Okay, so that brings us towards the end of the show, and it's been absolutely amazing. Really inspired. There's some amazing things going on there with some amazing people sort of leading the way. So thank you. And yeah, I just want to mention that there is, I'm just speaking on behalf of Paul and the Hearing Voices Network, which is part of our national, and that there's going to be a meeting on Tuesday evening, Tuesday the 7th, 7 p.m. It's an Eventbrite, and this is looking at conversations about the role of psychiatric medication in our lives. It's really, really important stuff. The group have invited Alison Granitsky from Massachusetts in the USA and Constance, and they're going to be chatting around this really, really close to my heart, actually, topic around that. So thanks for that, Paul. And next week, we're going to have another really amazing show. We're just confirming the lineup. We're going to be live, actually, from the Pyrenees.
Yeah.
Next Saturday, which is going to be absolutely great. And just want to say a big, huge, warm welcome. A big, warm thank you to everybody who's watched and who donates as well. That would be greatly appreciated. So enjoy the rest of your Saturday, everybody, and see you all next week. Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, thank you so much, and I thank you so everybody who have been part of this show. We love you. Bye bye, from the bottom of my heart. Yeah, bye bye.